Josie Duggar's tragic day. A family shaken forever. Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. For Duggar family latest news update, please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. The morning began like any other at the Duggar family home. That familiar Arkansas farmhouse where laughter once echoed in every hallway, where siblings raced downstairs for breakfast, and where the sweet aroma of cinnamon pancakes filled the kitchen. The sun had barely risen, spreading a soft orange glow across the property, and birds sang outside the large windows. It felt peaceful, wholesome, safe. But no one could ever imagine that within hours, that same home would fall into a darkness so deep that it would change the family forever. Josie Duggar, the miracle baby who defied all odds when she was born 15 weeks early, was now a spirited teenager. She had grown strong and bright. Her smile lit up rooms. She had dreams, goals, a future she talked passionately about. She wanted to work with premature babies one day to help miracle babies like me, she had once said proudly. That morning, Josie was unusually quiet. Her hair was tied in a messy ponytail, and she hugged her favorite blanket as she walked downstairs. A hint of tiredness sat in her eyes. "Everything okay?" sweetheart Michelle asked gently. Always in tune with her daughter's emotions, Josie nodded, forcing a smile. "Just a headache. I'll be fine." She wasn't one to complain. Being strong was something she had learned from birth. Jim and Michelle exchanged a concerned glance, parents' intuition. But with 19 children, there were always 100 tasks waiting, 100 needs pulling in every direction. Still, Michelle placed a soft kiss on Josie's forehead. "We'll take you for a checkup today." "Okay," Josie hesitated, then nodded. An unexpected decision. The family had planned a quiet day. But last minute, Jim remembered paperwork he needed to drop off in town. Michelle decided to accompany him, and she insisted Josie should come too, to see the doctor afterward. They would only be gone a few hours, and one knew the road would be cruel that day. The three of them climbed into the large family SUV. The morning was still bright, calm, promising. Josie rested her head against the window, the sunlight warming her face. "Dad," she whispered suddenly. "Yes, sweet girl, I'm glad I'm here," she said softly. "We're glad too," Michelle replied, squeezing her hand. Sometimes the most ordinary moments hide the most heartbreaking truths. No one knew those would be the last calm words exchanged, the road that changed everything. They were halfway to town when traffic slowed unexpectedly. Construction. Jim sighed and gripped the wheel. Then, out of nowhere, the world shattered. A pickup truck, speeding, out of control, swerved across the center line. Witnesses later described the scene as if time froze and then exploded. The impact was violent. The sound was deafening, metal twisting, glass shattering, tires screeching. The Duggar SUV spun twice before slamming into a ditch. Silence followed. A terrifying, unnatural silence. Smoke rose. Debris scattered across the road. People screamed from nearby cars, rushing toward the wreckage. Jim was conscious, dazed, blood running from his forehead. Michelle was shaking, bruised, struggling to move. But Josie lay still. Her tiny frame looked unbearably fragile again, like the day she was born, and for a terrible moment, Michelle believed her baby was gone. "No, no, no, no," Michelle cried, her voice trembling in agony. "Josie, baby, look at mommy." Jim, despite his injuries, reached toward his daughter, his hands shaking uncontrollably. Sirens echoed in the distance, growing louder, but time felt painfully slow. A passing nurse rushed forward, kneeling beside Josie. "She has a pulse. Weak, but there." It was the smallest piece of hope, the most fragile thread, and hope can be both a blessing and torture. The hospital waiting area filled quickly, siblings, relatives, family, friends, church members. All shocked, all praying. The air felt heavy with fear. Cameras and reporters began gathering outside. News spread ruthlessly fast in the world the Duggars once lived publicly. Doctors worked tirelessly. Hours crawled by. When the surgeon finally came out, his expression alone sent chills through the room. Jim and Michelle stood up, holding each other for strength, trembling. The doctor spoke softly, his eyes heavy with the weight of loss. Josie had severe internal injuries. We did everything we could, a beat, a breath, a heartbreak. She didn't make it. Michelle collapsed, her knees giving way as Jim caught her. Her sobs echoed down the hallway, raw, broken, unrestrained pain only a grieving mother knows. Jim's face turned pale, his chest tightening as tears fell unchecked. A father, powerless to save his precious child. The world seemed to fall silent again, the same cruel silence as at the crash scene. Only this time, silence meant finality. The family reaction one by one. The siblings approached the private room where Josie's body lay peacefully, as if asleep. Jinger clung to her husband, tears streaming. Jess's voice shook as she whispered prayers. Jill held Michelle and cried silently. Grief shared, grief remembered, even the younger children confused, terrified, felt the shift in their universe. Their sister, their miracle, their playmate was gone. Anna arrived too, holding her children close. The usually lively group was somber, their sobs filling the halls. Why her? She was so strong, one sibling whispered. She fought her whole life, another said, choking on tears. Strength doesn't always win against fate. Private goodbye hours later, Jim and Michelle stood alone beside Josie. Her hands were small, cold, fingers curled gently. Michelle wrapped her child's hand in her own, refusing to let go. God gave you to us once as a miracle, Michelle whispered through tears, and now we give you back to him. Jim kissed Josie's forehead. You made us better. You were sunshine, his voice cracked. I don't know how to go home without you. There are moments that break a person forever. This was theirs. A family trying to recover. The days that followed were a blur of grief. The house was painfully quiet. Josie's room remained untouched, her favorite bear still on her pillow, her shoes neatly lined at the foot of her bed, her Bible still open on her desk, a bookmark resting at Psalms 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those crushed in spirit. Friends brought food, flowers, prayers. Fans sent messages worldwide. But nothing filled the void. The Duggar family gathered every evening, sitting in a circle, sharing memories of Josie. Laughter occasionally slipped through tears, sweet memories refusing to fade. It hurts, Michelle whispered one night, and it always will. But love hurts because love matters, Jim nodded. We will honor her. Every day, a legacy of light despite the tragedy. One truth remained. Josie had lived with joy, courage, and purpose. She had been a symbol of hope since birth. And now, even in death, she inspired strength at end time. The family announced they would start the Josie Hope Foundation to support premature babies and families going through medical crises. Her life, short, beautiful, resilient, would continue helping others, just like she always dreamed. And though grief still sat heavily in every heartbeat, Josie's spirit lived on in the laughter of children she would one day help, in the parents who'd find hope again, and in the hearts of everyone who knew her miraculous story. Final words: life can be cruel, unpredictable, and painfully fragile. Josh Duggar's secret redemption journey. The hidden truth they never told you. In a quiet corner of Arkansas, deep behind rolling fields and whispering oak trees, a forgotten chapter began to unfold, a story few ever imagined possible. Years had passed since Josh Duggar's world shattered, since headlines turned his name into a battleground of shame, judgment, and controversy. The world moved on, but for Josh, every second felt like walking barefoot across broken glass, sharp, punishing, unforgettable. Inside a simple correctional facility tucked far away from the world he once knew, Josh stood alone in the prison yard. The morning sun cut pale gold lines across the concrete as he stared at his reflection in a small shard of broken mirror he kept hidden in his pocket. His hair was longer now, his face lined with a heaviness no camera ever captured. He whispered to himself, a voice hoarse with regret, what have I done? And who do I become now? For most men in his situation, acceptance came slowly, if ever. But for Josh, the silence was loud. Every prayer he once prayed echoed back unanswered. Every sermon he once believed in felt distant. Every memory of the fame and pride he once carried burned like a brand on his heart. He remembered the old world, cameras, interviews, his family's polished smiles, the illusion of perfection. But illusions break, and when they did, they cut deep. The visit one chilly winter evening, as snow dusted the prison yard like powdered sugar, Josh received a visit request. He didn't expect anyone. Most of his family had stepped back, silently, painfully. But when he stepped into the visitation room, he froze. It was his younger brother, Joseph. Joseph sat with hands clasped, his expression stern, guarded. He wasn't there to comfort. He wasn't there to pity. He was there for answers. Joseph said, quietly, I didn't come here as your brother. I came here as a man who needs to understand how everything went so wrong. Josh swallowed hard. He looked down, ashamed. I don't know how to explain, he whispered. Joseph leaned forward, eyes sharp with hurt. You preached purity. We all did. We lived by rules, so strict they suffocated us. But we believed. We trusted you, someone who told us to follow the path. So tell me, what path were you on? Silence. Thick, suffocating. Tears pricked Josh's eyes, but he didn't let them fall. Did I failed, he murmured. I failed everyone. I hurt everyone. But I'm trying to change, I have to. Joseph exhaled deeply. Change starts with truth. Not excuses. That he stood. Before leaving, he placed a hand on the glass between them. Not reaching out to touch, but as a symbolic wall. Your actions destroyed trust, Joseph said. If you want redemption, don't speak it. Live it. Then he walked away. That night, Josh lay awake on his thin cot, staring at the ceiling. His mind replayed Joseph's words like a looped recording. Change starts with truth. Don't speak it. Live it. He knew redemption wasn't owed. It had to be earned, the letter. Weeks passed. Winter turned to spring, and sunlight began warming the prison walls. Then one day, Josh received a letter. Handwritten, familiar. It was from Anna. He unfolded the paper slowly, breath trembling. Her words were calm, guarded, layered with pain, but also strength he had never fully seen in her. I don't know who you are becoming yet, but I know who I am becoming. I need truth. I need growth. I need peace. She didn't promise forgiveness. She didn't need to, but at the end, she wrote one line that hit harder than everything else. Our children deserve a man who rises, not a man who collapses. Josh held the letter against his chest, eyes stinging. He had lost so much, but maybe, just maybe, he hadn't lost everything yet. The mentor life in prison is monotonous, steel, rules, routine. But that spring, a new inmate arrived. Older, wise-eyed, quiet. They called him Pastor a former minister who lost his way but rebuilt himself through humility and service. One afternoon in the dusty prison library, Pastor approached Josh. You're drowning, he said bluntly. Josh looked up, startled. What makes you say that? Because I've seen your face in the mirror, Ray replied. You are stuck between the man you were and the man you fear you'll never become. They sat in silence for a moment before Ray continued. You don't need forgiveness to start changing. You need honesty. Ray became a guide, not a savior, but a compass. Day by day, he challenged Josh. Own your actions, face your shame. Stop trying to rebuild your old life. Build a new one. Slowly, Josh began journaling, writing letters he might never send. Reflecting on the past without excuses, accepting the pain he had caused, not numbing it. Redemption wasn't a destination, it was labor, and he finally understood that. The breaking point one night, Josh overheard inmates whispering about him. Not threats, worse, mockery. Celebrity Christian boy. Fell harder than anyone. Bet he thinks prayer saves him. But one inmate spoke differently, angry, furious. He hurt families. He hurt kids. He deserves every second here. The words cut deep, deeper than any punishment. Josh didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. He sat alone in his bunk and let the truth settle like cold weight. This was his reality, a fallen image, a broken legacy, a life stained by choices no one else made but him. He cried, silently, painfully. Not for himself, but for the pain he caused others, and that was the turning point. Rebuilding from dust. Months passed. Josh worked in the prison workshop, hands rough, back aching. He prayed, differently now. Not asking for rescue, asking for clarity. Pastor Ray watched his transformation quietly. You know, Ray said one afternoon, true change is proven when no one is watching, when no one praises you, when every step forward goes unseen. Josh nodded. I know. Then tell me, Ray asked, who are you becoming? Josh didn't hesitate, a man who stops hiding. The final visit, one warm autumn day. Josh received another visit request. His heart pounded, hope and fear mixing inside him like storm clouds. This time, it was Jim Bob, the man who once shaped his world. The father whose expectations forged steel walls around their family. The patriarch shaken by scandal but never broken in the public eye. Jim Bob sat down slowly, looking older, more fragile than Josh remembered. Son, he began, voice firm but trembling. I came to say something I should have said long ago. Josh held his breath. We raised you to appear righteous. We didn't teach you how to be broken. We should have. The words pierced like arrows. I can't fix what happened, Jim Bob said. You must carry your consequences. But I also believe no story ends in the middle. He placed a worn Bible on the table. Your name isn't repaired yet, he said softly. But your story isn't over. Josh looked at the Bible, a symbol of his past, maybe also his future. Tears fell, not dramatic, not performative. Quiet, real. For the first time, father and son sat not as a public image, but as two flawed men. The path forward. Years passed. Josh completed programs, therapy, mentorship. He worked, studied, volunteered inside the prison. Not to rebuild his reputation, but to rebuild himself. He never asked the world to forget. He didn't demand forgiveness. He didn't pretend to be the victim. He learned humility, slowly, painfully, honestly. One winter morning, as dawn carved pink streaks across the horizon, a guard called his name, Duggar. Pack up, release day. Josh walked out with a small bag and heavy heart. No flashing cameras. No cheering family. Just quiet, cold air, and a long road ahead.